Hello again, YouTube. My name is Bree, and in today's video, I am doing a fan art of a character I am too attached to and talking about books. I talk about books a lot on this channel, even though it's not booktube. I reference what I'm reading a lot. I love to read, and I've been wanting to do more fan art for books. I like painting characters, especially though, I know there's a lot of fan art out there, but there's something to be said about trying to recreate kind of how you envision a character, ignoring the existing fan art. And I really like that process. So I've been wanting to do it for certain characters I haven't painted or I've only painted little sketches for, and basically create some bigger paintings. This obviously isn't a bigger painting. This is the smallest I've worked recently. And well, that's not true. I've done some ATCs, but it's been a while since I worked in a sketchbook of this size. But yeah, so basically, Hoid from Brandon Sanderson's Cosmere books, Hoid or Wit, is a character I really like, and I've been wanting to do a larger piece for him. I mean, a piece for him, and I've never painted him before. I've also wanted to do something for Kaladin, and maybe some other characters. I like Brandon Sanderson's Cosmere a little too much. And also Elderling. I want to do more Elderling fan art. I've done like a sketch of the Fool. I want to do a larger piece for him and maybe Fitz. I don't know. I haven't finished that series yet either. But yeah, I kind of get these things like as I'm reading it, I like picture the characters and then I want to paint them. And then it gets too worked up in my head because I get too attached to them and their stories. And then I kind of don't paint them. So I figure take out the small sketchbook, do a little painting. It doesn't have to be great. It's been a really busy time, and just enjoy the process. And then hopefully work out some of the kinks, some of the bugs before I try to do something bigger, and then that can feel a little bit more comfortable at that point. Or, I could take reference images and do more for it at that time. So this is my first little sketch for Hoid, and I have his little pin there because I finally, at this box I finally got my Tress of the Emerald Sea box, which had the Vin pin. So yeah, I'm in a very bookish mood. This is where I accidentally gave him an extra finger, so appreciate that while you can, because I do fix it, but I kind of forgot I had the pinky up in the air. And I've always wanted to paint Hoid with his flute because I played the flute for like 8 or 9 years and I need to get back to it. Basically, I kind of got out of the habit of playing it because I was in the dorms and then in apartments with thin walls, and I couldn't really, I'm too shy, so yeah, I finally got a house at some point, and I was like, I could pick up the flute again, traumatized my cats, and never got back to it. So, in all of my copious free time, one day I want to start playing the flute again. In the meantime, I wanted to paint him with his flute. So I figure for this video, the Realmathon, readathon I'm participating in, and a little bit of bookish fan art kind of go hand in hand. So I will finish talking about some stuff here, and then I will switch over to what I've been reading and my participation in this readathon. So this is a very book-themed video, if you couldn't tell by what I assume will be in the title and thumbnail, because I haven't made them yet. It's been a long week. So yeah, this painting is done in a little A6 sketchbook, once again made for me by my friend Spofgh. I haven't painted this in a while. The prior painting is from quite a while ago. In fact, I don't remember when I did that one. And you might be able to tell from that one, this paper kind of has a unique texture to it. And I kind of, it's a little different. Like, I like it, but I have to adjust to it again. It's been a while. And did I say this is Saunders Waterford? I don't know, but it is, and it's a cotton paper, and yeah, it stays wet a little longer than some, so it's a little bit different to work with, but I do like it. I'm not completely used to painting on off-white paper though, and eventually I will pull out some white gouache to punch up some of the whites and just add more highlights. I very much struggle painting characters that have white hair because I never know how to, especially if they're paler skin, handle the eyebrows and the eyelashes. And honestly, I think I failed out big time on that one here. I tried, it didn't really work out. But once again, if I'm going to paint a bigger piece later, I have at least one trial run. I could do some more practice, I could take some reference shots and try again. So Yeah. The paints are the Roman Szmal palette. Since you last saw me use it, I did add 2 additional pans. One is that magenta that's looking oddly shrunken and not shiny. And the other is, I'm going to go completely blank on that. It's the dark brown that's up at the top, and it is, I can only think of the egg aloe version. It's called Morleone, and I can't remember what the Roman Szmal version is, but it's that really deep, almost purplish brown that I love. It's one of my favorites. So it might be Indian red. Not sure. But yeah, otherwise, not much else to discuss here. Like I said, this is a practice piece. I do want to do a bigger piece at some point for these characters. And then maybe between that and getting motivated and finally driving the forever to IKEA, I could get some new bookcases and have like a little library area where I celebrate my love of fantasy and have a cool little space to read. But I've been saying I'm going to put that together for ages and have not bought the bookcases. So we shall see. I'm really good at putting things off. Plus, this was going to start and then COVID happened. So that really, didn't go to IKEA because of that for many years. And now I should probably just go. But yeah, so let's talk books. So the Realmathon April Reading Challenge is an online reading challenge hosted by several booktubers. Now, I'm not going to try to list everyone because I did not plan ahead and write it down. And I'm also not a big follower of BookTube. I just don't have enough time to watch all the YouTube videos I want. I'm sorry. I'm so far behind on YouTube right now. But they put together this reading challenge, and basically there's 4 different realms that are fighting for control. Each realm is a different genre of book. And I joined Team Enya, which is the fantasy realm for obvious reasons. And basically, when you read a book, you submit for points. And you can either have like defense points to add points to your realm, or attack points to take points away from another realm. So, yeah, I'm trying to focus mostly on fantasy books because it ties more into my realm, and I'm trying to get lots of points. And because of this whole thing, I've been reading quite a bit. So the first book I read, I wanted to start this month with Brandon Sanderson's Secret Project 2, but it came out at 2 o'clock in the morning, and I just could not let those first couple hours go without a book. So I started with a graphic novel, because graphic novels do count, and in the theme of Brandon Sanderson, which might also be the theme of this video, I read Dark One Volume 1, which I thought was a standalone. I've had it for a while, and I hadn't read it, and it's very much a Volume 1, and I'm kind of neutral on it. It didn't really work for me. That's okay. I don't know if I'll continue with that series. I don't have much to say about it. And then after that, I talked about this in my prior video, but I finished listening to The Ghost Dance Judgement by R.S. Belcher, which is a weird fiction set in the 1800s, and it's part of the Golgotha series. It wasn't my favorite book of the series. In fact, I definitely liked the 2 that came before it better, but it tied some things up nicely, and I did enjoy it. Weird fiction, for if you're not familiar, is kind of like Lovecraftian stuff, so like little fantasy, little horror. And I find myself liking that. Like the only weird fiction I've read before is I can't remember the name of it now. China Mayville's Perdido Street Station. And I apologize because I'm probably going to butcher most of these author names. So, but yeah, I only read the first book, and now I really want to go back and read the rest of that series. So then after that, I obviously made it to Secret Project number 2, which is the Frugal Wizard's Handbook for Surviving Medieval England, which is entirely too long a name. And this one, like, obviously I love Brandon Sanderson, but this one was it was very different from his other work. It kind of comes across like let's say a popcorn flick. So it was a little bit faster paced, a little bit more sci-fi, a little bit more goofy, definitely different, but I enjoyed it for what it was. Like, it wasn't meant to be an epic fantasy, and it was fun. I don't know if I necessarily go back and reread it, but I really did enjoy it, and I give it, I don't know, maybe like 3 stars for the book and an extra star because the art was amazing. So each of the Secret Project books are illustrated by a different artist, and obviously I love seeing book illustrations. And Steve Argyle did an amazing job with Secret Project 2 because not only did he do paintings for the book itself, he did throughout the book. There's like parts of this handbook from this company, the Frugal Wizard company or something, and so there's illustrations for that. And then in the margins, and it continues across, like throughout the whole book, there's like a comic of this little cartoon wizard. I think his name is Mervyn, and his adventures in his alternate reality. And those little illustrations were the best. I love them, and the way they framed the page sometimes and continued on, it was absolutely brilliant. I think someone did the math and said it's like 190 pieces of distinct art in that book, and that was what part of what made that book so much fun for me. So then Sabriel, I think it's Sabriel by Garth Nix. I finally got to that. So I think I had started the audiobook for Sabriel when I filmed my last video, and I have to say the books themselves, they were good. Like I'm not sure. I get really connected to characters, and for me the first book just went so quickly, and like the world was really interesting, but most of the characters were just kind of, they exist, they go through various events, and I don't feel I got to know the characters. So that kind of makes me connect less to a story. But like Tim Curry's narration was amazing and totally sold me on it. And throughout the series, because I did read Lirael and Abhorsen as well, I just loved how he did the like animal character voices, the Mogget the cat and the Despicable Dog? I'm already blanking on it. I've been reading too much and my brain is fried. Also work. There's just been a lot. I'm fried. But yeah, I love those characters, and him voicing them brought them to life so brilliantly, and I absolutely had a blast listening to those books. And then at the same time as I was doing Sabriel, I was reading Empire of Gold, which is the last book in S.A. Chakraborty's Daevabad trilogy. And that one was a big one. I'm surprised I made it through it that quickly. But I kind of had an unintentional buddy read with a friend, and she was already reading it, hadn't finished it yet, and I caught up to her, and then we kind of stayed within like a chapter of each other, or a couple chapters of each other. So every day we would like kind of reach out, like, where you at? And then we just talk about what's been happening, and it made it so much more fun. And honestly, I think that's my favorite book I've read so far this month, and part of it was just that interaction and like sharing where we thought the story was going, and some of the reveals that hadn't come out yet, and then like talking about it when it did come out. Like, I had such a fun time with that book, and we're already setting up a buddy read, like a more official one, for another series. She has it under Shannon Chakraborty, but a pirate series, and I'm very excited about reading that one. I think we're going to do that in June, so it's going to be awesome. And then after that, I'm like all out of sorts, so I'm probably missing stuff at this point, was Nettle and Bone by T. Kingfisher. And T. Kingfisher's kind of been on my list recently, or for a while now, because I get, maybe you'd like this book recommendations, and every time I see it, and this is so dumb, but I like birds, so I see Kingfisher, I'm like, yes, I need to read the book by the bird. So my friend Rye, who was the one who introduced me to the Realmathon reading event, read that one and absolutely loved it, rated it 5 stars, one of her favorite books this year, I think. So obviously had to get it. It was available at the library, and there was a reading challenge to read more this weekend, so it was an extra 10 points for every book you finished during the weekend, start to finish. So it was a short book, like 243 pages, and it was kind of a dark fairy tale, but like, I think what threw me off was it seemed a little tonally confused at times, because it did have some really dark elements, but then at the same time it would have like some really cutesy things. Like, it was oddly cute for such a sometimes dark story. Like, it starts out, and this isn't a spoiler because this is kind of how it starts, she's constructing a dog from bones, and in this these lands that have cannibals. So it starts out like, oh yeah, this is pretty dark. And then like before you know it, it seems a little bit more fairy tale-ish, and then something happens that's like pretty dark again. It goes back and forth. So I had a little tonal whiplash, but I still really liked it. I thought it was like, my reaction after I finished was like, oh, that was cute. And then like I think about some of the things that happened earlier. I'm like, that's a weird reaction to have. But I definitely want to check out more of Kingfisher's work and yeah, see what else she has. And then after that, or kind of at the same time, just to get some extra points, I started rereading Death Note. I made it through 3 volumes. So yeah, haven't read that since it was like coming out. It got a little too popular and I got a little tired of seeing it everywhere, but I was reading it back in like 2005. And I remember back then really liking it because aspects of it reminded me of Crime and Punishment. Obviously, like Crime and Punishment, he commits a crime and then spends the whole book both trying to hide it, but also dealing with guilt and making himself ill from what he did. And then Death Note, on the other hand, he's like, he just keeps going. He has no shame. So that part's very different. But I remember comparing those two and really liking them both back then. So I really liked Death Note. I thought the art was like amazing for manga back then. And it was just like, I was obsessed for a little while. So it's been kind of fun to revisit that and all these years later. And relive some of the memes, the potato chip. My God, that was the anime ruined that one. But yeah, and then I started A Prelude to Ashes, which is a book by Thiago Abdalla, who is actually he's an author, obviously, because I just said he wrote this book, but he's also participating in the reading challenge. So he's involved with, like, he's chatting in the Discord, and he's like, he seems super nice and super funny. So I'm just really excited to see his writing. I read about half of the novella and then my brain stopped working and I'm really tired. So I have to backtrack a little bit because I think I'm just missing some things and then finish that. And I'm really looking forward to reading some of his full-length books as well. So yeah, that's what I've been up to the past couple weeks. And if you've been reading anything interesting, let me know because eventually I'll run out of things on my TBR and look for more stuff. But in the meantime, thank you for stopping by, watching this, my little Hoid sketch. And yeah, eventually I will do some more, maybe I'll do another little book fan art in my next video and kind of wrap up the rest of the books I read during Realmathon. And then probably crash and burn for a few weeks to recover. But yeah, in the meantime, thank you for being here. I hope you're all doing well, taking care of yourselves, and hope to maybe see you again in a future video. Get some rest, read some good books, make some art. Talk to you later. Bye.